Welcome back to the regulars, and if you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, let's have a drink.
However, before I went to Santa Fe Recovery, which was the second rehab, I went from February to June of this year. I hate to say this, but I did try fentanyl one time before I went to the rehab because I was stealing from the job I was at. I was taking money out of the drawer, and that's how I was paying for my Coke and my alcohol before I went to Santa Fe. After I got out of rehab the first time. And I just...
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Let's Have a Drink podcast. My name is Cam. I'm your bartender today. My guest today is Drew. How are you doing, Drew?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. What are we drinking today?
We are drinking Red Bull.
Just Red Bull.
No alcohol.
Just Red Bull. I like it. Cheers.
Cheers.
So why are we just drinking Red Bull and not alcohol?
Because I am sober.
Okay, gotcha.
Recently sober.
Recently sober. How recently?
Well, I'm actually coming up on 6 months for cocaine. I actually did break my sobriety on drinking a couple of days ago, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh, back on the grind, though.
Yep, back on the grind.
Back on the grind.
But 6 months for being sober from cocaine here in a couple of days on the 6th of August.
That's impressive. Cocaine's a tough one.
Yes. It's the first time I've been sober this long in about 7 years.
7 years. How old are you now?
23.
So you would have started doing stuff like cocaine then when you were 16?
15 actually.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it's a little closer to 8 years.
So can you, if you're comfortable with that, can you describe to me what got you on using alcohol and substances like that at such a young age?
Yeah. So it was my sophomore year, and my parents got divorced. So on top of that, I was with this girl for about a year. It was my first real relationship.
Yeah.
It was a freshman year high school thing.
It was your first love.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we found out abruptly that she was moving in 3 months across this country to North Carolina. So I found out she was moving, and then my dad told me my parents were getting divorced, and then my dog died. And then all of this stuff just started happening, and especially when my parents got divorced, it really took a toll on me. And so I started going out with the guys, and I'd smoked weed, but I had never really drank. So this was when we started going to parties. I started drinking alcohol, and as soon as I started drinking it, I should have known it was gonna be a problem, because that's the only thing I did to numb myself from all my problems. And that's why I started drinking at such a young age.
Okay. Were there any resources afforded to you outside of substance abuse that you knew about or were accessible to you, like therapy or, I don't know, just a trusted adult to talk to? Did they exist, and did you have access to them for you?
They did exist to a certain extent.
Okay.
I did go to therapy for, my parents' divorce about a year after it had happened, and This is already a year into me drinking and stuff. So when the help in the form of counseling was there, I chose to stray away from it, because I found my help. I found what helped me, and that was alcohol.
Okay.
So I didn't look for those outside resources.
You didn't need them at the time.
I didn't need them.
Alcohol to cocaine is a big jump, because it's not unheard of a high school kid to drink or smoke weed.
Yeah.
It's a common high school experience. So what was it that made you make that jump to something a little more hard?
To be honest with you, I was with this one girl who was not good for me. She was not good for me. She had mentioned that she wanted to try it, and me being a sophomore, I was like, ooh, I could totally do that, because I knew people who had it. One of my very good friends, who's no longer with us now, he was a dealer, and so I knew where to get it from. So I wanted to be cool, and I got it, and we tried it. And it didn't initially stick right away. It actually started off as a once in a blue moon thing.
Yeah.
But the older I got, the more frequent it became. And definitely in my senior year of high school, right before I joined the military, it was becoming a daily thing. After I came back from the military, it was every day for almost 2 years.
How long were you in the military?
I was in the military for 2.5 years.
Okay. Did you do, what was that like? What branch of military? What did you do in the military?
I was an administrative specialist in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
I was in Okinawa, Japan.
Oh.
Yes.
That must have been pretty cool.
It was very cool, very cool.
So did that, is addiction the right word?
It is.
Okay. Is that addiction, did that affect your life in Okinawa, Japan?
Oh, definitely, because the time difference is what really, really messed me up. It was 14 hours ahead there, so it was so hard to communicate with my family back here, and all I did was drink out there. I mean, that's where my drinking really took off, was in Okinawa.
Mm-hmm. Do you think if you didn't join the military, you wouldn't have created a drinking problem?
I had a drinking problem before I went into the military,
just
but
kinda
the
like
Marine Corps
set
kind
it
of
off.
intensified it, if you will.
Okay. You're not the first sober person to come to my bar. I've had Carrie from XOXO CBD. Brucey came on here and at the moment was sober because of playing for Enemy United. What Carrie had told me was that every time someone is going through these addictions, they hit a low point.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's rock bottom, and that's what gets you to clean up, because you're clean now, right?
Yes,
You're in recovery.
Yes.
So if you're comfortable with it, can you tell me what led up to your rock bottom? What was the rock bottom? And then again, what led up to that? So.
Oh man, my rock bottom. I feel like I hit rock bottom a few times.
Okay.
No, I definitely did, but let's see. So yeah, it started when I came back from the military. I had been in Japan for 2 years, and I didn't have access to being with my friends, being with my family, doing drugs.
Yeah.
I had alcohol, so that wasn't any different, but I allowed myself to, I was like, I just came back from the military. I want to just party. Like, before I get a job, I'll relax,
Yeah.
And that's what I did until I got a job at Daniel's Family Funeral Services.
Okay. And for those who don't know, I know Drew. I used to work at Downey Family Funeral as well. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So right when I started working there, that's when my party should have ended, and it did. I was actually okay about it, if you will.
Yeah, you
at
had
first.
9 to 5.
No, I mean, I would only do drugs on the weekend. I would only drink on the weekend because I cherished my job. But as time went on and as I fell further and further into addiction, I started drinking on the job. I started doing drugs on the job. It was a nightly and daily thing. It was very rare if I took a day off, and the reason why I'd take a day off is because I wouldn't be able to breathe. I couldn't breathe, so I'd let my nose recover for about a day, and if I could barely breathe through it, it was ready to get right back onto it.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so with that being said, that's how my life was. Going to work, drinking, and doing drugs, and it started to cause problems with my friends. I am no longer friends with the vast majority of the people I was friends with, leading up to my addiction. It led to problems with my family, multiple relationships, and the thing is every time that I caused myself some misfortune or I caused a problem, instead of looking into myself and admitting that what I did was the problem, trying to fix something, I would choose to hide behind alcohol and cocaine. I would numb myself out, and I would push problem after problem down the drain, and I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't deal with things. And it's so crazy to me to think about it now that I'm sober and I can think clearly. It's insane for me to think about how I did that to myself for years. How I just never was okay with anything, I was never okay with myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't accept myself. I hated myself for the things I had done. And instead of trying to make amends, instead of trying to fix things, I would do the things that caused all of that misfortune in the first place. I got a DWI. I got arrested for for
Was
drinking.
that the first rock bottom?
That was, yes. No,
Okay.
no, that was
Yeah.
like the third or fourth rock bottom, to be honest with you.
okay.
This was after getting kicked out of, multiple places. This is after losing 2 good jobs.
Yeah.
This is after losing like I said, friendships, relationships in my family, But, yeah, getting arrested, you would think would have been rock bottom for me.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it wasn't. It wasn't. I got arrested. And I got released a day before I started my new job at Riverside Mortuary.
Okay, you went over to Riverside.
Yes, I did.
Okay, gotcha.
And what did I do? Once I started working there, I was back on drinking during the day and using during the day. My license was revoked 20 days after I got arrested on June 6th, and I had that job until September. So I was drinking and driving with cocaine on me for 4 months? If I had gotten pulled over one time and they ran my license, I would have been back in jail. I always had cocaine on me. I probably would have gotten popped for coke. I was always drinking. I was always under the influence while driving, always. And it just blows my mind as to how I was so nonchalant about these things, how I was just so okay with it. Because I think about it now, and being 6 months sober, besides my little slip up a couple days ago, this is the healthiest I've ever felt. This is the most clear I can think.
You can breathe.
I can breathe, and I don't have to say, oh, it's my allergies. No,
Yeah.
This is just the best I felt, and I think back to when I was in this hole, and it just I can't fathom how I let myself live like that. I see pictures of myself. You remember how I looked with my beard all scraggly, my hair. I would never. Yeah. I don't have a haircut now, unfortunately, but it wasn't like in my addiction. It was always about to my eyes. I never shaved. It was bad. It was bad.
With that, then, I'm personally curious. How much did that cost? Because you say you always were packing. Mm-hmm. Cocaine's not cheap, right?
No.
How much did that cost to maintain a coke addiction?
Ooh, and the thing is I've even in rehab, I don't think there's any way I could really try to put a number on it. Okay. I think when I got my phone back, because I did a 30-day program in Santa Fe, mm-hmm. and then I did the 90-day extended program there. And I got my phone back during then. I kind of had my Cash App, and I scrolled through it because I started this whole rehab process in October of last year. So I scrolled up to back then, and I looked at how many times from October to September, I think I had spent over $3,000 in just cocaine and alcohol. And that's just 3 months out of 3 years that I did that.
That's $1,000 a month.
I don't know how much, and sometimes it was more. When I first started, I didn't have a lot of money, so I really wouldn't spend too much on it. Mm-hmm. But once I started making those big paychecks, yeah. I would always spend so much money. And you know what? I really don't even. If I could, I don't think I'd want to know how much fair. I spent. Honestly.
Did you ever place alcohol and/or cocaine ahead of bills?
Every time I got evicted from my first apartment. My car got repossessed from me by my dealership multiple times because I wouldn't pay my car payment. My insurance would always cancel me because I would never pay my insurance, and my phone bill was always late. And you know what? It's like I don't know. I don't know.
And I appreciate you being so open about this.
Yeah.
I know that some of these are maybe tough questions or weird questions that people might not have asked you yet. But hitting that rock. So working at Riverside then, mm-hmm. When did the next rock bottom hit then?
Definitely after I got fired from them. So I got fired from them
for drinking on the job, or
well, because I would just we'd get calls at night, and I would always stall because I was either too tired to get up, or I was too busy picking up. I'd tell family, we'll be there in a could have been there in 10 minutes. I was like, we'll be there in 45 minutes. Always, I was going to calls late, so they let me go because of that. But I also believe they had the suspicion that I was doing drugs, because there's this one time that I was late or something. I think I was late. And I just done a line in the bathroom, actually, and I came out, and my boss was like, I think I had messed up on paperwork or something, and it was serious, and he was grilling me about it, and then he goes, and you're always in the bathroom. He's like, are you doing drugs or something? And, no. I was like, no, I'm not doing drugs.
No,
but
heck no.
So, I mean, I'm more than positive they knew if he had asked me that, because I was always in the bathroom,
Yeah.
I'm more than positive they had their suspicions. But, yeah, that was when I really hit rock bottom, because after that, I didn't even try looking for another job. I was just so fed up with life at that point once I got let go from them. And I don't know, I just went on this one binger for about 4 days, and just drinking and doing coke. And I was staying at my dad's at this point, and finally I was like, after my binger, I texted him, okay, Dad, I'm on my way home, after not talking to him for 4 days. And he didn't want me home. Oh, he told me to come back or come by later. So I was like, okay, I had my friend drop me off at my brother's house. My brother got home from work, and he just didn't even talk to me. He just was like, all right, let's go. And I was like, where are you taking me? And he was like, I don't know where we're taking you, but Dad doesn't want you at his house. And I just started crying, and I was fucked up because I was on a 4-day binge. I was so fucked up. And I don't know. I told him to drop me off at the park, and my stepmom met us there. And I finally told her that I was like, I'm ready to get help. I'm tired of living like this. And so then she had connections into getting me into that, my first rehab. And then that's how this whole rehab journey started.
Absolutely. Before we get into the rehab, because I do want to talk about that, what is the accessibility of drugs in your experience? Because if you're paying with it on Cash App, that sounds pretty accessible to me.
Yeah.
Are they accessible to high schoolers? And how easy is it to obtain drugs?
It really all depends on who you know, to be honest with you. But it's not that hard to find drugs either. And what's funny is now that I'm sober, I tend to notice just more drug-related activity. Say, like, if I'm out at work or if I go out somewhere, I just kind of notice it more,
You can't spot the signs and everything.
I can,
like that.
yeah.
Someone coming out of the bathroom and just rubbing their nose. And
it's really, it's just, it's like things that most people probably would notice too, but it's just like, addicts understand addicts. So you're gonna I understand what another, like, I can spot one out in a crowd,
Nice.
I mean, I don't know if that's nice, but you know what I mean.
I mean, like, I feel like that's like a trauma superpower. And when I say nice, I don't mean like, oh, that's awesome that you have that. But like, it's just something that you've gained from your trauma from experience.
Yes.
In the same way
definitely.
that, in a fucked up way, in the same way that a craftsman in a certain craft can understand, like, oh, this is, like, a tattooer can be like, this is a tattoo. I know who did this one, or I know who did that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being accessible, then, you went to rehab more than once, you said.
Yes.
Okay. So talk to me about the first time you went to rehab, because that sounds like your true rock bottom, where you're like, I'm ready to get help. No one wants me. What was that like to go into rehab the first time?
So pretty much, I mean, especially with all this COVID stuff happening, it's not like how it was before COVID. You can't just like call somewhere and and then you could come in like an hour later. Yeah. There's a waiting list for things like this, like the hospital and stuff. There's waiting lists for people to be seen and stuff. But like I said, my stepmom has connections. We have family that's in that program. So she has connections. She was able to get me a spot right away. And since it was the only place that would take me like the next day, I just said yes, because I needed to get help right away.
Yeah.
Like
it was more of an emergency.
It was. And so I went to this, it was a Christian faith-based program. And I was semi-ready to make a change. I was ready to finally stop disappointing everybody. But I think I went for the wrong reasons. I didn't do it for myself. I was doing it to please everybody around me. There was a part of me that I was doing it for myself, but I was doing it mostly for the people around me. And like I said, it was a Christian faith-based program. We read from the Bible daily. We went to church every Wednesday. But we didn't talk about addiction. We didn't talk about the things that we had done in our active addiction. There was no talk about it. It was just strictly reading from the Bible. And I didn't have a problem with it. It helped me find my religion again, in a sense,
Okay.
because I had lost faith there for a while, just because of everything that I had put myself through, everything that I had lost, everything that I had caused. I kind of lost faith. But this place helped me find my religion again, helped me find something to believe in. But I left that program after 30 days thinking that that's all I needed.
And it wasn't.
No.
Okay.
I relapsed 2 weeks after I got out of that program in December.
How common is a relapse to an addict? I feel like most people relapse a couple times before they get the swing of things.
It's a lot of people have a different aspect on it. Some people say relapse is not part of recovery. Other people, like myself, I do believe relapse is part of my recovery.
Yeah.
Because my relapse taught me that I was still trying to prove to myself that I could drink. Like I said, I told myself, okay, well, if I don't drink nearly as much as I did before this, I think I'll be okay. If I don't drink during on the job,
okay,
I'll be okay. Or and then I'll be like, and then I was like, I'll stay away from Coke, But once I started drinking, it's a slippery slope. I slipped right away.
So describe that start, right? So you get out of rehab. I assume you start a job or something like that. What did that look like then?
So I had gotten out of rehab, and I had just gotten my sentence, I think 3 days prior to me leaving that program. Mm-hmm. So I'm sentenced to the first offenders program. I had to do a couple classes, community service, and then a year of probation. So in that 2 weeks that I was good, I did my community service. I did it with the city, knocked that out of the park right away. I did my DWI school. It was actually 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then there was one more thing I can't remember.
What was DWI school like?
Oh, it was just like a Zoom class, just reading from the book. And that's where I really, really learned that I had a drinking problem, because either the people there were bullshitting or they were being honest. But my answers were nothing like those people's answers. I was like, how many times did you drive drunk? People were like 3, 5, once. I was like, I've driven drunk like fucking 500 times. I was like, what?
That's not normal?
That's not normal? How many, what was a nightly drink like to you? 5 shots, 6 shots, 7 shots. You guys didn't drink 35 shots a night?
Have you drinking 35?
Oh, that was my bare minimum. I would bare minimum drink 35 shots.
I have 2 beers and get kind of faded. That's a lot of alcohol.
I built up a tolerance, and because of the cocaine, it allowed me to sober the fuck up, and I was ready to go. And the thing is, it caused a nasty cycle, because I would start drinking and I'd get fucked up, like how you were just describing.
Yeah.
I do a few lines, I'm back up, I'm Superman, I'm talking to you like this. I can drink more than what I just drank prior to that. It hits me again. It's a rinse and repeat cycle, dude.
That's insane.
It's very insane.
I think I would die if I even attempted to drink that much alcohol. And yet here you are. That's crazy.
Yeah, I actually, for my 22nd birthday, I actually went to the emergency room because I thought I was having a heart attack. This was one of the times that I should have woken up that I'm having a drink. I have a problem, and I didn't snap. It was a 5-day binger because I had been doing so good at Daniel's. I was still in good spirits there. I was still everyone's favorite there. I was still a good worker.
Loved you.
I was still a good worker there before they found out I was drinking on the job and doing drugs and all that. I was still good there, and so the boss gave me some time off. She gave me 4 days off before my birthday. So I had 4 days, or it was after. So I had a day off before my birthday and then a couple days after. So I drank and partied that whole time. So every day I drank the fifth of the those giant Crown Royal bottles. I was obsessed with the peach one at that time. I drank 2 bottles a night during that my binger for
And
my 22nd
that's
birthday.
liquor. That's not even beer. Like,
Right.
That's holy cow.
That was what I drank myself if nobody wanted to take a shot of it, on top of what everybody else was drinking, and if somebody wanted to give me a shot. Not only that, there was about a 3-gram minimum every night that I was doing that. I didn't do less than 3 grams. I did more than 3 grams. And on the final night, I remember I was drinking. I ran out all the big bottles. One of my good friends came over to see me. He brought some just, shooters, and it was like nothing at that point, but we took them, and we were so messed up that we just started wrestling, and he left, and I was like, dang, like I have to go to work like tomorrow, and I was like, I didn't sleep at all during this period.
Yeah.
I probably 30 minutes of sleep a night.
In that 4-day period.
In that 4-day period. And finally, I walked him out, and I was smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden my left arm started to get tingly. And I'd get paranoid from time to time throughout my addiction. I'd always Google, what does this mean? WebMD says you're fucking dying in 2 days.
You have cancer. Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I'd known just from looking up, just cocaine, it causes heart attacks, obviously. And one of the telltale signs of a heart attack is your left arm goes numb and it starts to tingle. And my left arm went completely numb. Then my heart started beating out of my chest. Like, you feel my chest, and it was like something was hitting. Like, you could feel it was like something was knocking. Like, my heart was thumping out of my chest. I got a bad anxiety attack, and I started freaking out. I started throwing up. I had alcohol poisoning because I didn't eat anything. Also, I'd maybe eat a few bites of something here and there throughout that 4-day period. But on top of that, it was just cocaine and alcohol.
So it was just straight cocaine and alcohol.
That's
in
all
your
it
system.
was. And I finally went to the people that I was with. They wanted to call an ambulance to come pick me up, but I was like, I don't have insurance. I'm not paying for an ambulance. I was like, if I feel like, let me just chill, and if I don't feel good, I'll go in the morning. And that's exactly what happened, dude. Everybody left. Like, finally, I told everyone, I was like, go home. I think I'm feeling better. And then it picked up again, and I had to call someone to come take me to the ER. So I went, and they did blood work and all this, and they just said my heart was beating very abnormally. They could tell that they said I was on the verge of a cocaine overdose, but that I definitely had alcohol poisoning. I was throwing up blood at this point, and they wanted me to stay, but I was like...
Isn't throwing up blood, like, leading up to death?
It's getting there.
Yeah,
I've thrown up blood on more than one occasion. Not that I'm proud of it, but I'm still here and I'm still breathing. But everything in here probably doesn't work as it once used to. But yeah, after
Shoot, sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
Continue, sorry.
After that 4-day period, it was about a week recovery. I didn't drink. I didn't do any coke. And as soon as I felt better, I was right back on it. After that whole stint,
So you almost died, literally.
Yeah.
And then immediately back on it.
7 days later.
What was your thought process in that of like, oh, I can keep going even though I just almost died? What were you thinking? I don't mean that in a derogatory mean. I want to know, like, what were you thinking?
No, what I literally told myself was, if I don't use or drink as much as I was, and if I allow myself to have some rest period, I'll be okay. And you know what? It lasted for a solid 2 days.
Yeah.
I drank, and I was like, all right, I won't drink for 1 day. I didn't drink for 1 day. I didn't do coke for 1 day. So then I was like, all right. The next day, I was like, I can drink and do coke today. And I did it. It led into a 3-day binger. And then after that, I was just drinking every day. Once I start drinking, I slip. I fall.
Okay.
I mean, I go straight down the rabbit hole.
Straight down the rabbit hole.
I fall.
Did you ever turn into things harder than cocaine?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
However, before I went to Santa Fe Recovery, which was the second rehab, I went from February to June of this year. I hate to say this, but I did try fentanyl one time before I went to the rehab, because I was stealing from the job I was at. I was taking money out of the drawer, and that's how I was paying for my coke and my alcohol before I went to Santa Fe, after I got out of rehab the first time. and I just didn't. I got let go from them, and I just didn't have money. And I had like $10, and this guy I knew said he'd sell me, a fentanyl pill for $7, and I was like, well, if it'll get me fucked up, I was like, I'm trying to get fucked up, and it did fuck me up, and I regret it.
So after going through DUI boot camp, basically,
Yeah.
right? You seek out this place of employment. At this place of employment is where you relapse. You then steal money from the cash register to feed the addiction, get fired because of it, and then try fentanyl.
Yep.
Okay. Fentanyl is a horribly dangerous drug.
Horribly dangerous.
It's not the most OD, because Carrie told me that it was actually
Fentanyl's getting up there.
That's scary.
It's very scary, I was like, I asked him, I was like, do I snort this whole thing? And he was like, if you want to fucking die, yeah, go ahead. And he was like, just do a little piece of it. And so that night, I just did. I broke a little piece off of it, and I snorted it. I had already been drinking. I did coke that whole day. I was pretty drunk. Then I snorted like 2 lines of fentanyl, and it actually made me feel pretty good. Like, it made me feel relaxed. I think it was because it was a mixture with the alcohol or something, which probably isn't good, but I actually felt okay. And then I ended up just passing out. And I hadn't got let go from that job yet, because a few days after this, I had gotten kicked out of my mom's.
Yeah.
So I was living at my dad's, and I drank so much this one night that I woke up still drunk the next day, and I had to go into work at 11. So I was hitting up my coke plug so he could hopefully drop off to me so I could sober up so I can go to work. He wasn't able to get to me for a couple hours. So, 11 was coming, and I was like, I need to sober up. And I was like, well, I have this fentanyl pill. I had half of it, a good chunk, like a big half. I was like, I have this fentanyl pill left. And I was like, it's probably the same thing as coke. Like, it'll sober me up. So I crushed the entire thing, and I snorted it all. And don't get me wrong, and I'm not glorifying it here. I'm not glorifying it, but I did feel good for a solid 10 minutes. I felt like Superman. This was like the first time I had done coke again, and I think this is where the whole addiction from fentanyl stems from, because I could see how fucking potent it was.
Because that first 10 minutes is just
dude, I swear to God, I was on cloud 9. I'd never felt that good, and I had to walk to work. It was only like a 30-second walk, literally, but that 30-second walk felt like a fucking post-nut clarity, dude. It hit me so hard. I felt so good. Dude. And then I was standing there at the cash register, and again, I had only drank alcohol the whole night. I hadn't eaten anything, and I did a half pill of fentanyl. And I started to get sick. I was like, I'm gonna throw up. And I was like, it's probably just because from the alcohol from the night before. So I called someone to come cover me. And I go to the bathroom and I throw up. And I'm projectile vomiting. Like, I haven't thrown up like this. And I shouldn't be throwing up like this just from everything that I did,
Yeah.
Like, and this
it was obviously the fentanyl.
It was the fentanyl. Yeah. I was projectile vomiting. Like, and for solid 4 hours after that, I don't even know how I had the guts to stay there. It was probably because I was so fucked up. But I just kept going back and forth to the bathroom. Like, I would just leave the register. I stopped calling for people to come cover me because of how frequently I was throwing up. And I don't know how I had the guts to just sit there and, like, I was like, nobody's going to notice. Like, but I think about it now, and it's like, that is so ridiculous because I was projectile vomiting, dude. Like, it was bad. And after that, I was like, I'm never trying that shit again. Like, but...
Good.
Yes. Yes.
That's horrifying.
It is very terrifying.
Why would a dealer offer that? Because cocaine's not a good thing, but it's not going to guarantee kill you. Fentanyl, like he said, if you did the whole pill, you die. Mm-hmm. Why was that even an option on the table?
To be honest with you, it's like, he wasn't just a dealer. He was a guy that I had met at my first apartments, and we actually started hanging out pretty frequently. Obviously, only to do drugs, but there were times where we actually weren't using or drinking, and we actually did stuff. And he was older than me, but we actually got pretty close. He was pretty cool, but he also was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I asked him, and at first he told me no. He was like, I'm not going to give you fentanyl, Drew. He was like, because he does it. He was like, but I'm not going to let you do it. And I was fucked up. And when I'm drinking, I don't take no for an answer. So I begged him. I was like, please. I was like, I swear to God, I won't ask you for it again. Like, just this one time. I don't have enough money for coke. I just need something, please.
Okay.
I was like, please, I only have $10, and he reluctantly he brought it to me.
Okay, so he knew the dangers.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
And when
Good.
I told him about this, when I projectile vomited, he told me I was probably on the verge of an overdose on fentanyl too, because he was like, that sounds horrible.
You straight up survived an overdose on cocaine, alcohol poisoning,
Yes.
overdose on fentanyl.
Yes.
Was this the moment where you went back to rehab?
It wasn't the moment right away.
Okay, but it was one of those things in your head like, oh shit, this didn't work.
Kind of.
Okay.
Because after that, my dad or my stepmom had found my bottle. Like she rummaged through my stuff. So I knew they knew that I was drinking, and they were like, "You're not gonna live here. Like we try to let you stay here, but that was the deal. If you drank, you're out of here." So my dad he was taking me to a sober living facility, right? And I was like, I think we had to go at noon, and it was like 10 in the morning. So I walked to the gas station, and I was like, if I'm going to a sober living facility, I was like, I'm going to go fucked up. So I bought about 15 shooters. I slammed those. I was fucked up, and my dad took me. And of course, I know this now. If you go to a sober place, like facility, you always have to do a breathalyzer whenever you go. And they were probably going to give me a drug test too, which I would have failed horribly. But the guy gave me a breathalyzer, and I think I blew a .19.
Is that high?
That is twice the legal limit.
Okay, I blew
I blew a .17 when I got arrested. That was twice the legal limit. But,
okay,
but
and
I
you
blew
did higher than that on this.
Very high. So he was like, he's got to go to a detox program before we accept him for 3 days. And so my mom and my dad took me to this detox program. But because of probation, I do these counseling sessions. And if you miss them, if you get discharged from the program early, it could be a probation violation.
Yeah.
So I was fucked up. I'm drunk as shit, and I was like, I can't go to the detox. I have my counseling. They got fed up, and they just left me there out front of it. So I just started walking down Central, hitting up anybody who would pick me up, and I got a ride. And I stayed with a friend, slept on his couch for a couple of days until I started doing coke and drinking at his house, and then he kicked me out again. And dude, that's when it finally hit me. I was like, I am so tired of getting kicked. Like, I was sleeping on couches, sleeping on floors, sleeping from place to place. I didn't have a place of my own. I didn't have my own car. I didn't have shit, dude. All I had, I lived to use and used to live. And it was at that point that after he kicked me out, my mom, she was letting me take a shower there, and I told her, I was like, I can't go back to his house. I was like, I'll go to Santa Fe. And she was like, if you go. So I called. They said it'd be a week. And my mom was like, you can stay here for a week, but you're not leaving this house. Like, seriously. Like, so my mom, she let me stay at her house for the week before I went to the Santa Fe recovery program. And that was in February.
Okay.
And
so the first rehab that you went to was Christian faith-based. And you talked about how you didn't talk a lot about the addiction. You didn't talk a lot about what most recovery programs would have. It was Bible-based and reading the scriptures and praying and whatnot,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Almost like pray the addiction away.
Yes.
So what was it like going through a second time? Was there any differences?
It was honestly the best thing that I could have done for myself, to be honest
with you.
There's probably a lot of other good rehab facilities. But I have Medicaid. I don't have the thousands of dollars some people can spend on to go to those expensive resort type rehabs. This one takes Medicaid, and there was a long waiting list for this. I was supposed to initially go in December, but I called in. I was like, nah, I got this. I was like, don't worry, I'll call you guys back if I need you. And I relapsed that same day.
Yep, I need you.
But I didn't call back right away.
Yeah.
So when I finally called back, I had to wait like 2 weeks before I could go in. And so I stayed at that friend's house for about a week, and then he kicked me out. So then my mom let me stay there for the last week. But this place was by far the best thing, like I said, I could have done for myself. We talked about, addiction. We talked about what addiction is, where it stems from. We talked about personal problems. Like, they pretty much poked at us to open up. They got us to open up. Some guys didn't open up and left the program early. Some guys stayed through the program and stayed hard as a rock and didn't talk. Then you had other people like myself and other people that have moved back to Albuquerque, that I'm still in contact with. I found a brothership with these guys. We talked about it, and like I was telling you earlier, I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed. I needed to understand why I drink. They ask you, what do you want to learn when you come to this program? And one of my answers was, I need to learn why I go back to the bottle, even after it's realized so much for me, after it's ruined so much for me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's what I needed. I needed to talk about this stuff.
The second program, was it religion based as well?
It wasn't necessarily. It was open to whatever you believed in. So
it was higher power based.
It's higher power based. So I had guys in there that creator, or people would say other things, but it's whatever higher power that you believe in.
And I'm a firm believer that, as an atheist, right, I'm a firm believer that everyone has a higher power, even if I am my own higher power.
Yeah.
I'm still my higher power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you found your faith in the Christian program.
Yes.
But got clean because of the less faith-based program.
Yeah.
Do you think your faith helped you through that, or did it make it harder? What did that look like?
I think it helped me when I went to Santa Fe, because it was kind of like when I went to boot camp. I found just praying, saying a little prayer to myself, even if it's just in my head, it tends to calm my nerves, and that's the thing. Well, when we were working the 12 steps in the rehab facility, it's one of the steps is I came to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And, it's pretty much just whatever you believe in that gives you hope and strength.
Do you think you would have been able to recover had you not found your religion?
That's a good question. One that I haven't really tried to, it's not that I've tried to avoid it, but never really thought about it, I guess. Honestly, I really don't know. But after everything that I've gone through in my addiction, and looking back on it, that's the reason why I do believe. I think it did help me, because
there's a lot of occurred.
Yeah,
miracles occurred there. Man.
Yes. So I think it definitely did help me.
Okay.
Sure.
And that's great to hear. I'm in no way trying to diminish that, because
right.
I think that religion and faith, especially in using in the way that you've used it, is a beautiful thing that changes lives for the better.
Right.
How long were you at the care facility in Santa Fe?
I was there from February to June, so I did a 30-day program from February to March, and then I got accepted into the 90-day extended program.
Nice.
And so in the 90-day, you were given more freedom. We got like these. It was like it's the old art college campus in Santa Fe. So they're like little dorms. So it's two people to like a dorm. So I had a roommate, but we had our own rooms. You were required to have a job, whether it be part-time or full-time, but you had to make like 5 meetings a week, 3 outside meetings, your one-on-one counseling sessions. So you were learning in the 90-day program, you're learning to balance recovery and your personal life.
Which is very important, because you can't just say, we're in this oasis of not the world, don't drink and do coke here, but then throw you back out in the world and say, have fun.
Yes.
You can't do that.
Right.
What job did you find?
I found Office Depot.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
And so does the clinic then reach out to different people within the community and say, hey, can you take on some of our people who are in recovery? Or did you go find it yourself?
Actually, no. So that's one thing they do teach us is, we go out and get jobs. Some people there say, be careful of who you tell. They say you can either go at it full-fledged like I did. I told the general manager that I interviewed with, I straight up told him that I am a recovering addict, that I'm staying at the Santa Fe recovery program, that it's right behind, literally it was right behind my work. And I just told him exactly how I felt, you know, like I'm in recovery. I'm learning how to be a functioning member of society. If you don't, you know, if that's too much, I understand. And he was like, I want my workers to be honest. And he was like, and that's why he hired me, because I was honest. And then you heard a lot of that from other people too, is that honesty really impressed employers.
Yeah.
But then,
even with the place telling you, hey, you may not want to share this information.
Exactly.
Okay.
They said they advised not to do it, to disclose it to an employer.
Yeah.
But on average, employers actually do hire a lot of addicts. Studies have shown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's cool.
And I guess it's because, you know, as addicts, if we want something, we'll get it. Like, if we want it, it'll be done. Like, and I've learned that.
The best business people
are
recovering addicts.
Seriously. And honestly, I think because of the cocaine, like, there was a time where I was a pretty damn good salesman. Like, I could talk somebody's damn ear off and sell them something. Now I can't. Now I just don't have it. Maybe cocaine gave that to me, but that's not a power I'd like back.
I was gonna say that's a good thing you lost it if that's the case.
Yeah,
that's great. And so you started up there with Santa Fe, and you're still with that company then?
No, actually. So I'm actually it's like an outpatient. It's like a super outpatient. They call me once in a blue moon to ask how I'm doing. But so prior to going to Santa Fe, my probation officer set me up with this facility that does substance abuse counseling, and then I have like my own counselor. So after I graduated the program from the 90-day program, I came back here, and my probation officer, she'd asked me if I wanted any extra help. I told her, why not just put me in the classes again, just so I have something, you know. So I just started those classes actually today. I started today.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah.
I noticed something. Every time that you got out of rehab or DUI camp or something like that, and someone afforded you additional help, you rejected it. This time you accepted it.
Yes.
This shows that this is the moment where you're like, okay, you were in recovery now.
Yeah.
Like, that's badass. That's
Yeah.
cool. Anyway, continue. Sorry, I just thought that was really interesting.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But no, I told her, like, I think it's just better for me to be in some sort of counseling. And so I've actually been slacking on it as of lately. I haven't been going to my NA meetings. But I just started the counseling today. So I had my first session today at 1. But I'm hoping this coming week to start going back to my NA meetings, because I have learned that I truly need to go to these meetings. Once you stop going, I can just feel it, you know, because that other guy, the other guy in my head is he's just waiting. That addict part of me, it's always going to be with me, you know. This is something I'm going to be dealing with for the rest of my life. It's not something that I can take medication for and that it's going to go away. This is something that I have to continuously work on a daily basis in order to keep it at bay.
Okay.
And once I start slacking, I still haven't. I had a sponsor in Santa Fe. I have yet to find one here because I've been slacking on going to meetings. There's just certain things that I need to do in order to maintain my sobriety. Like I just said, I have been slacking on going to my meetings, and look what happened. I ended up having a drink the other night.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want that to be the same case with cocaine, because once the cocaine starts, that's when the party really goes downhill.
It's a downhill spiral.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
That's going to actually be last call. So we're going to wrap up the conversation with the next 10 to 15 minutes.
No worries.
You go with just the one?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't had Redbull in a while. This has been a real treat.
When I first got out of rehab, I tried to stay away from Red Bulls because it just reminded me of vodka tonics.
Are we good?
Well, we are perfectly fine now. Trust me.
Good.
I'm actually good at telling people when I have a trigger warning.
Okay.
That's why I don't necessarily go to my dad's anymore, because all he does is drink there. I don't see one of my older brothers because all he does is drink.
And that's just a trigger for you.
Yeah. So.
I appreciate that you're able to communicate any triggers that you do have. Do you ever find that people look at you or like are disrespectful because you say, hey, just so you know, I can't handle this?
Actually, so you know what? When I got out of rehab the first time, I tried to make amends with everybody. I tried to still be a people pleaser and tried to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And when I'd get rejected by people or like friends that I'm not friends with anymore, it would cause me to drink, because I was like, well, why can't they accept me and see that I'm trying? This time around, I decided to focus on myself, and that's something I've learned. Is recovery is a selfish process.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the people that I am in contact with, like for you example, and like maybe 3 others, they all respect my sobriety. When I tell them, you know, I'm not drinking, or like don't, there's certain people that I have to tell don't drink around me, because like you guys, like this is fine.
Yeah,
but
I have alcohol right here.
Yeah,
that's like, I was like, are we okay?
Like this is fine, but there's a couple of, there's 2 friends of mine. They're just very, very still stuck in the alcoholic ways. So I asked them to if we're gonna hang out, to be sober, because they'll get to talking about coke, and you know it. So
it's a little bit triggering.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do you find that sharing your story in an environment like this can be triggering? Because I'm asking very in-depth questions about like, how much did you use? I asked you how much did it fucking cost, right?
Yeah.
Is that triggering at all, or do you find this beneficial?
So you know what? When it comes to talking about my past, and you know the things I've done to people, the things I've said, the only time I've stolen was from that one job. But no, it. Sorry, I just had a complete brain fart.
You good? I was just asking, are interviews like this where people are asking about your story more in an inquisitive and informative way? Do you find that triggering, or is this hard to do? Is this beneficial? Does it make you feel better? Like,
I find this beneficial because it's, you know, I just think it's important for people to see how it is from the addict's point of view. Yeah. And for me personally, just talking about it, you know, helps me, just makes me feel better.
Absolutely. Full transparency, when you messaged me on Instagram, I was like, do I really want this? Because I was thinking the you that I knew, and I was like,
oh yeah,
do I really want this guy on my set drinking? And I gotta be honest, I was like, you know, I'm cool with him, but fuck.
Yeah.
And then you hit me with your sobriety, and I was like, oh shit, let's see how this goes. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely fucking congratulations, because what you do is not easy to do. And however I can support you, or anybody within my crew that can support you, let me know. What resources would you recommend someone going to who's thinking about going into recovery, going into a 12-step program? What would you recommend?
I definitely recommend going to a meeting. First off, there is an NA app that you can download from the App Store, and it actually shows you Monday through Sunday what days, what times, and what locations there's NA meetings. And they're open to everybody. Anybody can go. If you think you have a problem with addiction, if you are struggling with addiction, I recommend you go to a meeting and you see how it is, because honestly, going to meetings has saved my life. Going to rehab has saved my life.
Are you experiencing any long-term health issues because of what you did?
You know, honestly, my body doesn't work the same. I can't jump as high. I can't run as fast as I used to. You know, sitting up and down hurts sometimes now. So I don't know. I think there are long-term things that I've done to my body that I don't think I even know yet, because I also used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 3 years.
It's a long time to be smoking. That's a lot of cigs.
Yeah. So
holy cow.
But I'm healthy now, and you know, I'm good.
You are good, and it's fucking amazing, and I'm proud of you, dude. Like, this is a fucking big deal.
Is it a complete 360 from the last time you saw me?
You know, you look pretty. Like, I know you're kind of down on yourself, like how you looked back in those days. You looked functional, so like I didn't quite see it that often. I also don't know the signs, because I don't know shit about drugs. You know what I mean? I smoke weed sometimes. That's my extent, right?
Yeah.
But your spirit now is what's impressive.
Yeah.
Because it's inviting. It's warm. I want to be closer to you. It's cool, and I'm really proud of you, man. It's
I
super
appreciate
awesome.
it, and thank you for having me on, dude.
Yeah.
This is a really cool set.
Thank you.
I really like it here.
We've been building something here.
Yeah.
So. Feel free to come back anytime in the future. But thanks for coming to my bar, man. I appreciate the fuck out of you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
man.
can I get a hug?
Of course you can.
Fuck yeah, man.